Oh man, can you believe it, man? The band's back together. The freaking band's back together, man. Everyone is here. Everyone's enjoying themselves, and there's no way we're leaving nobody out whatsoever. Blank. Anyways, yes, we are reviewing RWBY Volume 5, Episode 7. Yay! I can't believe we're on Episode 7. We got like, what, 5 more episodes to go before the grand finale of this volume? Yay! But anyways, it is good to see the characters back together again. Well, most of them. Majority of them, anyway. We got to see a lot of funny and hilarious moments, along with some very dark and character development moments as well within this show. And it was just enjoyable all around, especially with how the group was coming together and they're pretty much talking about all the adventures they have went through from Volume 4 after leaving the tragedy that was known as Beacon Academy. It was just amazing, watching how much they all have grown from the very first volume to now where they are at right now. You know, for instance, John was a wimp, he was kind of whiny and stuff, barf boy, and then now he's this guy who actually make great strategies and have better battle armor and can actually fight. Yeah, it's so good to go for John. And there's also Weiss, how Weiss was this very ignorant, stuck-up princess girl who is now, she's self-aware and aware of her surroundings, of what's really going on outside the world and how much she wants to change it. So a lot of people have changed as well. RWBY in a way kind of stayed the same, but she's not less ignorant as she was before. She knows how to go everything head on. And Yang also learned to control her temper and to move on from her fixation of always finding her mom, which is she grew a lot, so good job, Yang. And of course there is Lin. Lin, in a way, learns to show a bit of his emotions in a way and learns self-control, letting go of his past and moving on forward, and of course the shipping with Nora, which is always good to have. So anyway, it was just great watching all the characters converse with each other, talking about their adventures, how much they have grown. And of course the deep talk with Red, how he just pretty much said how it is good. You know how that time when you were older, like in your 20s and 30s and stuff, and you're telling yourself, you think in the past about all the stupid stuff you did as a child, how you wish you can go back in time and tell your younger self, hey, don't do that, that's stupid, you can screw yourself over, you should do this or do that. You just wish you could do that, which almost every human being wishes that. That's actually a good thing, as he said. It's something I didn't really think about until now. If you think those thoughts as you're getting older, that means you are better than who you were before. That means you have become a better person. You have grown so much throughout your life, and you should be proud of yourself for that, by the way, because that is not an easy feat. It is hard to change to become a different person, because you're so used. We are creatures of habit that always try so hard to stay the same, and even though we do want to change, it's just so hard. We don't want to break out our habits. So yes, we're going to see a nice entertaining arm wrestling match between Nora and Yang, and it was pretty even. And then she used arm ejection, so apparently yes, I did predict that as well. Yang has arm ejection, and it can be pretty fatal, looking how Nora was like, ugh. And who won, we don't know, because she let go of the arm. And speaking of Nora was pretty much spooked out twice in this episode. That was hilarious. She was spooked out when Weiss summoned her on one of her grim spirits, and she was also spooked out when she was holding on to Yang's arm. It was hilarious. And then it was also funny as we saw how they're picking on John, how he was to be called Barf Boy, or how Weiss was called the Ice Queen, how she was always mean and stuff. This is a great episode when it comes to just seeing them happy together again. No more on the serious moments. Now we get into the second part of this episode, and that is with the talk with Ozpin. Another thing that we had inside the RWBY group discussions about what would happen next in this episode. Pretty much everything happened the way I thought it was for the last scene. We'll get to that later. It is about the talk with Ozpin. Ozpin telling Yang and Weiss everything that he knows. So it turns out Raven wasn't lying after all, things were true. And we find out something else that we already knew, but it was glad that it was finally discussed to people who didn't get it yet. And that was how Ozpin was pretty much a very powerful person in the past, thousands of years ago, and he's the one that pretty much created the maidens, pretty much, and he gave them their powers. But as it turns out, every time he gives his powers away, it makes them weaker and weaker as time goes on, because he also explained why he gave Raven and Crow their powers, or their ability to transform into birds. He needed more eyes and ears to track, see what Salem's up to. So Raven and Crow did agree. They did agree on to Ozpin's decision, and they also ended up becoming his eyes and ears, traveling across the globe in a very fast pace. Because what's better to travel around the world than flying? better than car riding, better than walking, is the best. So, of course, Yang felt kind of angry about this. But then yet again, Osmond said something that was very reasonable. They made their own choices. In the end, everyone makes their choices, but our choices make us. Andrew Ryan said that, by the way. BioShock, real good game. Anyways, he told them, what are they going to do now? And that is a very good question, because right now they can't really gather any recruits right now, and they can't just fight with just the Team RWBY, Team Juniper. They're still missing some members, by the way. So, all they can do now is enjoy their moment. Seize this moment of happiness. Take this day off and just enjoy it with the people you have not seen in a while. Catch up and see how far you have grown. Because it takes more than just a simple table talk to understand where you're coming from. So I did enjoy that, the way Osmond said it. Of course, turning back to Oscar and Oscar being all awkward. And finally, at the end of this episode, we got to see the good old gang again. We got to see Cinder, we got to see Emerald, and Mercury, and Opter's there too for some reason. I guess he's there to talk about negotiations. The question is what are they do with the Spring Maidens? It makes me wonder, is it possible that one person can conjure all the powers of the maidens? That's why I like to know. Is it possible that, because as we know, they're still killing the maidens, but the question is what to do with the maidens? Are you going to give the powers to somebody else? Or, is Cinder's going to absorb all the powers of the maidens? That's what I've been wondering about. And speaking of that, they finally somehow were able to find Raven's village somehow, which is strange. I thought they were well hidden, but I guess not. And of course, that dude, the dude we saw since episode 1 of this volume, he just does not learn his lesson. He needs to stop acting like a tough guy. It's okay to be tough, but you at least gotta be cautious of your opponent. Don't be overconfident, because you don't know if that person's be able to kick your butt. And I'm pretty sure Mercury and Emerald, and just Emerald alone, can easily dominate that guy. And remember, Mercury and Emerald are not new when it comes to killing people. So hopefully this guy doesn't die in the next episode. Who knows? He'll probably get beat up to death because he kind of asked for it for being all cocky. Other than that, yes. I was going to see how Cinder is going to react and converse with this Spring Maiden here. How is she going to talk to them? What negotiations going to have? Because as we know so far, Raven wants nothing to do at all with what's going on. So we don't know if Raven's going to sell her out, or if she's going to fight, or they're going to have some type of simple negotiation. One way or another, I really can't predict how this is going to go. That's what makes me excited, how I can see something and not predict it. It's usually the times I can actually predict what's going to happen, and it usually happens, and it pretty much kills the surprise for me. Yeah. But other than that, yes, I am excited to see what happens next, and just enjoy it. So what do you think? What is going to happen between Cinder and the Spring Maiden, and of course with Raven's thing? What will Osmond will have the children do next, as well as they are resting today, but they're going to do something the next day? Probably some more training. Who knows? I'd like to see how the other members of the teams fight against each other. I'd like to see one more battle royal between Team RWBY versus Team Juniper. And since Team Juniper only has 3 people and Team RWBY has 3 people, it would be a great battle royal to see how them train things out as well. And of course, I'd like to see more Oscar development moments, because he's still a fresh new character. So it's good to have him some more development moments as well. That's all I got for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe. I'd be much obliged. This is Madcrownxox Anime. Sign out.